What's up, YouTube? Cr0wnless King here. I'm not even about to waste any time. This chapter was a 10 out of 10. God Valley is gearing up to be one of the hypest events in One Piece thus far. So we're going to start off with the cover story. We got Yamato and the gang leaving Ringo after visiting the grave of Kozuki Moria. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this begins to wrap up. So Oda starts off this chapter with a smoke. We are currently on Hachinosu, and we see that Don Marlone has been killed. It says that he was attempting to guard Shaki, but someone invaded the island, and within a matter of hours, they had taken out the Don, kidnapped Shaki, and skedaddled on out of there. Even Gloriosa, who's pseudo rivals with Shaki beauty-wise, is torn up about Shaki being kidnapped, and you can see her ugly crying. But you know who we don't see upset at all? Ochoku Wang Ji. He's just in there counting those fat stacks with a gleeful look on his face. And if this doesn't confirm that Ochoku is the traitor on the Rocks Pirates, I don't know what will. So since the narrator says that there being no trace of what happened with the Don being killed and Shaki being kidnapped, I really do feel like this was partly an inside job. I feel like Wang Ji somehow allowed the perpetrator to come on the islands, and him and the perpetrator took out the Don and then got Shaki up out of there before anybody noticed. And this kind of shows that Ochoku, he's actually a pretty powerful pirate, because we know that Shaki rode with the Kuja pirates for a long time, and she was no slouch combat-wise. So for her to be kidnapped and the Don to be taken out, Ochoku seems to be semi-competent combat-wise. And in the Rocky Port incident, it took the combined forces of Blackbeard, Law, and Kobe to take him down. And he's been ruling Pirate Island for like 40 years? So yeah, he's a snake, but he's a pretty powerful snake. And Ochoku being taken out by Blackbeard in the future is really satisfying. Since Davy, Rocks, is slowly becoming one of my favorite characters, it was nice that Blackbeard was the one to take out Ochoku and avenge his father, getting control of Pirate Island, which is technically his birthright if we're being serious, on some Game of Thrones type shit. So we see that Gloriosa, Roger, Rayleigh, and all the other pirates are distraught about Shaki being taken. It's even said that the One Piece world's economy at large was grounded to a halt for weeks due to this incident. If we're being honest, I would say that Shaki is kind of like an unofficial pirate queen of the One Piece world, because you have to think how much pull, how much influence you have to be able to make all these powerful pirates and the world at large just stop what they're doing and focus on you. So yeah, if there was a queen of the pirates in the One Piece world, it would definitely be Shaki. So we head over to God Valley as Garling returns to the island to begin preparations for the new human hunt that the Celestial Dragons take part of every few years. He meets up with the woman that he got acquainted to originally on God Valley, and she's really excited and happy to see Garling. She attempts to get him to stay on the island and be a father to the twins of Shanks and Shamrock that she gave birth to. And Garling is a YN for real. He looks at her in her face and says, "Oh, well, if we were to be together, it certainly wouldn't be here on God Valley. This island isn't going to be around much longer." And she has a confused look on her face like, huh? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And Garling goes on to tell her, "I've actually already ordered myself a worthy bride, so I'm not going to need you anymore." And now we know how Shanks got his name, because Garling shanked his mom to death right in front of him, which I like Garling's design. Like, some of my favorite warriors are pirates. I love knights. Samurais are pretty cool. And Garling being a knight, he kind of fits that mold. But he is such a sociopath. Like, if it wasn't for Garling being a celestial dragon, he would have definitely gotten taken out by now because he's on that YN time. He wants all the smoke. He is the definition of a crash out. As much as I like Garling's, physical design, I want Oda to have Dragon or whoever make him suffer. I don't want Oda to give any of the Celestial Dragons any type of redemption. I want to see them burn. The lot of them. If we're being honest, I hope when Luffy or whoever releases the slaves of the Celestial Dragons, I hope those slaves make the Celestial Dragon slaves. I don't care. I don't really mess with slavery, but in this instant, whoosh, get to work. I really hope Oda makes the Celestial Dragons suffer more than the people that they have subjugated over all these years. So after poking up, and not in that way, Shanks and Shamrock's mother, Garling goes ahead and tells the Marines to begin the preparations. So we see the Marines starting to land on God Valley, and all of the citizens are confused, like, hey, what's going on? What are they doing here? And we actually see one of the young Marines questioning his commanding officer, like, hey, what's going on? Why are we doing this? And the commanding officer goes on to tell him, hey, this is just a training exercise. Stop asking questions. You're 10 years too early to be questioning orders, cadet. And in my chapter reaction, this piqued my interest because generally when we see like low-level fodder Marines, they're not questioning their commanding officers. They're literally doing whatever they say. And for this one random Marine to be questioning not even his direct commanding officer, someone above him, it really piqued my interest. And looking at his character design with the spiky hair, I immediately knew it was Dragon when I first saw him. Because it made me think, Dragon said that he originally was part of the Marines, but he left just due to some of the atrocities he saw them commit. So in my head, I was putting two and two together, and I was like, this must be Monkey D. Dragon. And it is confirmed that this Marine who's asking all these questions is Dragon. So his commanding officer goes on to tell him that, hey, when you're in the Marines, you cannot question orders, and your personal doubts do not matter. He goes on to tell Dragon that they're using tranquilizer rounds, Metal Gear Solid style, against the civilians of God Valley. But this really makes me wonder, like, if they're really tranquilizer rounds, because we know that the Celestial Dragons and some of the higher up in the Marines don't really care, and that they just want to get this job done so the Celestial Dragons can have their human hunt. So finding out that Dragon was on God Valley is huge because it's really starting to put a lot of the puzzle pieces together. And it explains why he gave up on being a Marine and working for the world government, as well as making it his life goal to dismantle the corruption of the world government. And to be honest, seeing young Dragon, I really like his design. I hear a lot of people saying that he looks like Luffy when he transformed into his Gear 4 Snake Man. And I can definitely see it here with the dark spots under his eyes, the spiky hair. I can absolutely see it. And I don't know if Oda did it on purpose, but I love the parallels between him and Luffy. We also see that Dragon has a tattoo on his arm, very similar to the one that will eventually be on his face. So I'm interested in knowing what's the significance of that tattoo, because it seems like he has that style of tattooed kind of all over his body. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he has it on his leg as well. So for him to have it on his leg, arm, and eventually his face, I wonder if this tattoo has some type of real world significance, or he's just one of those guys who wants to be tatted up. Dragon being on God Valley also starts to make sense in how he knows the God Knights, and when they're deployed, then that means that the world government is starting to get serious. So he probably witnessed how powerful they were, because we see how powerful like Sommers, Gunko, and Shamrock is during the earlier parts of the Elbaf arc with their immortality and all. So I believe that's why Dragon is really holding out before making any rash moves in the One Piece world, because he knows that once the God Knights start moving, things are about to get serious. Also, Dragon being on God Valley at this time, it makes me wonder if Akainu is there as well, because we know that Akainu and Dragon, they butt heads just due to their different ideals. So I can see Akainu just being like, "Sir, yes, sir. Any order you need me to follow, I'll follow it, sir. Kill that entire family? Sir, yes, sir. Burn this whole village down? Sir, yes, sir." So continuing on into the chapter, we see this huge black Navy prison ship. And it makes me wonder, because when Aokiji first met up with the Blackbeard pirates and they were all drinking and talking, Shiryu brought up a point saying, if anyone has the last road poneglyph, it's probably the world government. And with Lafitte saying that it's located on a big black ship guarded by the man marked by flames, it really makes me wonder if the world government actually does have this last road poneglyph. But getting a little ahead of ourselves. So on this Navy prison ship, we see Ginny and Ivankov. And it seems like Ginny has just snuck off into the communications room and leaked some intel regarding the God Valley human hunt and the devil fruits that are going to be up for grabs as the prizes. And it's also awesome seeing Ginny here actually leaking the information. So that ties into what happened during Kuma's flashback when she says that she had originally leaked what's going on at God Valley, and they're going to use that chaos to be able to escape. It's nice actually seeing that all culminate together and the effects that has happened because of it. And we see Big News Morgans, even though at this point he's not so big, he's just a kid. And he's talking to some Cyberpol agents saying, hey, if you want to keep this information hush hush, I recommend you pay up now. And we see Cyberpol telling him, hey, you better watch yourself. We can erase you at any time you want. And Morgan's just like, try me. I wish you would. And it makes me wonder, like, we know that Morgans isn't some super tough guy, powerful character in One Piece. So I really wonder what he has on the world government that makes him so confident to be able to press these Cyberpol agents like they're just little lackeys. And we can see here how much of a businessman Morgans is, because he's thinking, even when they pay me, I'm still going to leak this information to the pirates. And now we know how the Rocks crew and the Rogers crew got the information of Shaki being alive and being used as a prize in the God Valley human hunt. So that's really cool to see. And like I said before, everything is just coming together. Some of those questions that we've had in the past, Oda's starting to answer them. But in the meantime, it's also bringing up new questions. So one of the questions that this brings up is, how does Ginny and Morgans know each other? Was Morgans ever a slave of the Celestial Dragons? Because Ginny said she's been a slave since 4 years old. So how are they acquainted? Or maybe I'm misinterpreting the chapter. Maybe it wasn't Morgans who she leaked the information to. Maybe it was just kind of like a broadcast that went out there. But hopefully Oda clears this up and lets us know. Also, it seems like Morgans has his devil fruit at this time, and we haven't really seen how exactly it works. I mean, we have seen Zoan users in the past. They usually have like a human form, a hybrid form, and then the full animal form. And we've only ever seen Morgans in this like bird form, but it's pseudo-human because he has legs and whatnot. Hopefully we get to see more on his devil fruit powers and how they work. So I appreciate all of you for watching the video up until this point. I am Cr0wnless King, and I'm attempting to build this Cr0wnless Kingdom for all of us One Piece fans. Go ahead and give me a like and subscribe, and comment down below about how you're feeling about Loki's flashback and why this is the best flashback Oda has ever made in One Piece. But back to the chapter review. So after Ginny and Morgans leaks the information about Shaki being alive and on God Valley, we head back to Hachinosu and we see the Rocks pirates who are ecstatic to find out this information and begin making preparations to head to God Valley to save her. almost everyone except Ochoku, who's trying to throw off Rocks and the pirates, saying, "This information sounds fishy. Are you sure we can trust it? And if this doesn't show you that he's the traitor and a freaking snake, I don't know what will." Now, we see Whitebeard here questioning the celestial dragon's human hunt, and he goes on to say, "I thought this was just a baseless rumor," which is kind of interesting because I originally thought that the Rocks Pirates would have known about the celestial dragons and how they are, since Rocks went all the way up to Mary Joas and even saw Emu. So I figured that he would have relayed some of this information to them to let them know how they really were, especially since one of Rox's main goal is to take down the celestial dragons and become king of the world. As they're making preparations to head over to God Valley, we see Big Mom and Kaido talking, and they don't seem as interested in saving Shaki as the other Rocks pirates. They're more interested in the devil fruits that the celestial dragons have as prizes. And Big Mom asks Kaido, "Hey, didn't you want one?" And he says, "Yeah, depending on which ones they have." And as Big Mom is flipping through the paper, she says, "Some of these devil fruits would be perfect for my kids." So that's pretty interesting. And now I wonder, like, did the Mochi Mochi no Mi, Katakuri's devil fruit, did that come from God Valley? What about some of the other ones? Because we know at least two of them, which is the Nikyu Nikyu no Mi, Kuma's devil fruit, and eventually the Uo no Mi, model Azure Dragon, that becomes Kaido's. So I wonder what the other devil fruits are going to be. I hope Oda shows us. So Cr0wn goes on to tell the crew, "Hey, we should be careful. This might be a trap." And Rocks tells him to shut up. If you have cold feet, you can stay behind on the island. And this also shows that Ochoku is most likely the traitor, because when we see the Rocks pirates invade God Valley in chapter 1096, a majority of them are there, even Cr0wn. The only one we don't see is Wangji Ochoku. So it seems like he just chilled back on the island, and once he got word that Rocks was taken out and the rest of the pirates just disbanded, it looks like he made his move and did what he had to take over Pirate Island. And again, it is so satisfying knowing that Blackbeard was the one to avenge his father and take out Ochoku. I just really wish Oda didn't off-screen it. So as we continue on in the chapter, we see that the Roger pirates also got wind of the leaks of Shaki being alive on God Valley, and they're making preparations to head out. Roger then brings up to Scopper Gaban, "Hey, where's God Valley?" And this is pretty cool to see because in an SBS, it's shown that Scopper Gaban is actually the navigator of the Oro Jackson. So him saying, "Oh, it's pretty far away, but we will make it in time." It's just awesome seeing the dynamic of the Roger pirates and how their crew works. We also see Garp on the Den Den Mushi talking with Kong, and Kong telling him that Roger's heading to God Valley, and that kicks Garp into high gear. I mean, he was just chilling on a beach. He wasn't really worried about it until Kong told him that Roger was going to pull up. So things are really starting to get into motion now. We move over to the Rocks pirates being intercepted by King Harald and the other giants, as well as a world government surveillance ship. And Harald tells Rocks, "We knew we would find you here. I heard that you and your entire crew has been simping over this woman, so we knew you would make your way to God Valley in attempts to save her. And now we're going to sink your ship." Rocks then tells Harald not to underestimate the Rocks pirates. "But before we fight, I'd like to talk to you, Harold, one-on-one, over a cup of sake." So Rocks then boards the giant ship, and they begin having a conversation. And Rocks goes on to tell Harald that he has a secret name. His name isn't Rocks D. Zebek. It's Davy D. Zebek, which is tied to the lineage of the legendary pirate Davy D. Jones. This is a huge reveal in the world of One Piece. We've heard Oda confirm that Davy Jones indeed was a real pirate in the One Piece universe, but now that we have Rocks confirming it, it just changes everything, especially knowing now that Rocks is a Davy, as well as Blackbeard being a Davy. Things start to get real. it starts to make sense why Rocks told Emu that he was a Davy Jonesian pirate, because he has direct lineage to Davy D. Jones. But it's curious though, he told this directly to Emu's face, and Emu did nothing about it. Emu had all the advantage. Rocks was inside the flower room in Mary Joas, and I'm assuming he had Gunko there with him. So I wonder if he's been hunting down the Davy clan for all this time, why didn't he immediately just try to take out Rocks? Probably because he knew that Rocks is one of them. It also makes sense as to what Saturn told Katarina Devon and Van Augur when they infiltrated Egghead during the Buster Call. Saturn asks Katarina Devon and Van Augur, "Why do you work for Blackbeard?" And they go on to tell him, because Teach is special. And Saturn says, yeah, as is his lineage. Now, when I first heard this, I thought he was just talking about Rocks being his father. But now knowing that Marshall D. Teach is part of the Davy clan and is actually Davy D. Teach, it's huge. It changes the implications of how we view Blackbeard. With Luffy having ties to Joy Boy and having that deity-like figure behind him, it's really interesting knowing that Blackbeard is part of the Davy Jones lineage. And this makes me question, how much of the world does Blackbeard really know? We know that Oda has stated before that if Blackbeard had a real life job, he'd be a historian. And his flagship is named the Saber of Zebek, so we can assume that he knows of Rocks D. Zebek. So does he know that he's really part of the Davy clan? Like, he must know, right? There's no way he doesn't. Another good point is whenever Vegapunk's message was going out throughout the world and it was cutting in and out, there was a point where Vegapunk attempted to bring up the D clan, and you can see Teach with a curious look on his face like, D? So I really wonder how much Blackbeard truly knows about his lineage. Rocks goes on to tell Harald that 2 years ago he had a child, and because he was worried about the safety of his child due to him being a Davy, he sent his wife and child away to his hometown, which is revealed to be God Valley. Now, I remember in one of my previous videos, I had the title of the video like, the most important island on the Grand Line, God Valley. And I was just trying to make it a little clickbaity, but it seems like the title of that video is coming true. God Valley seems to be one of the most important islands on the Grand Line besides Laugh Tale itself. We have the Davy clan that seems to be descendants from God Valley. Shanks was born on God Valley, which brings up, is Shanks a Davy? Like, could he be? Because we don't know Shanks' full name. We only know him as Shanks. Generally, most other characters in One Piece have a full name, like Monkey D. Luffy, Marshall D. Teach, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. They all have these full names, first, middle, and last. So for Shanks just to be known as Shanks, I feel like Oda's trying to hide something from us. And what better to hide than Shanks is part of the Davy clan, which would be crazy because that would mean Shanks and Blackbeard some way, somehow have some relations in their bloodline. But it's crazy to think that Shanks is both a Davy and a Figureland. But God Valley is definitely shaping up to be one of the most important islands there were on the Grand Line, because the incident that happened at God Valley shaped so many of the characters and how they would move going on into their future. Like Dragon being appalled at what he saw on God Valley with the Celestial Dragon's human hump. Kuma saving 500 slaves off of the island. Rocks was taken out there. Most of the current day Yonko were on God Valley. Roger, Garp. I mean, so many prominent characters in One Piece all converge on God Valley at this point in time. How can you not say that God Valley isn't one of the most important islands in the One Piece universe? So I've said multiple times in previous videos that I don't think Rocks is as bad as everyone tries to make him out to seem. I've been drawing parallels between Rocks and Luffy for a while now, and knowing that Rox went to God Valley to save his wife and child brings way more credence to Rox isn't really a bad guy at all. I mean, we originally thought he was going to pull up for the treasure and Shocky and the devil fruits, but knowing that he's willing to go there and potentially throw away his life to save his wife and child, goated. Rox is goated. Or should I say Davy? I don't know. I've been saying Rox for so long that it just rolls off the tongue. But he's one of the best fathers in the One Piece universe. And with how much he actually values his crew, he really seems like an awesome captain. I mean, yeah, he didn't get them in the conventional be my Nakama way, but, you know, him being a Davy Jonesian pirate makes me understand a little more why he used the Davy back fights to build his crew the way he did. So continuing on with Haral's and Rox's conversation, Rox asks Haral to lend him a hand, but Haral goes on to tell Rox, I'm gonna sink you in your ship right here, right now. And when I first read the chapter, I was really disappointed in Haral. Like, this bond that him and Rox have built over the years, it really seemed like he really was just gonna throw it away for the world government. But after I read it a few more times and saw the disgusted look on Haral's face, I'm starting to think that Haral kind of threw the fight and let Rox win just so he could escape to go save his wife and child. Because with the government ship watching Haral and Haral still wanting to join the world government as an affiliated nation, I can see why he would have to kind of play it off in a way that, oh, we tried to stop him, but we lost. So if that's what happened, I have a lot more respect for Harald. If Rox just beat his ass and then dipped, then I'm really disappointed in how Harald has morphed as a character over this flashback. So the narrator goes on to say, it's hard to believe, but every 3 years, the Celestial Dragons choose an unaffiliated nation rich in resources and turns it into a hunting ground where they slaughter all of the natives for sport. And so begins the fateful day of the God Valley incidents. The narrator didn't say that. That was me just adding a little bit of spice on that. We see all the celestial dragons gathered around a stage, and one of them goes on to present 9 treasure chests, which we're assuming all have the devil fruits in them, and Shocky as the ultimate grand prize of the human hunt on God Valley. And this is kind of strange because originally when we see the chests on God Valley, there were 6 of them. So, you know, I'm just wondering where the extra 3 came from. Like, did Oda retcon how many chests were there? Or was when we saw it originally, everything wasn't fully set up and there were only 6, but as time went on, they added a few more. I hope Oda expands upon this because even if it was retcon, I don't really care that much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love One Piece. I'm deep in that. I'm deep in it. But I'm not feeling trip off no little quote unquote retcon like this. Like, people who do stuff like that, I get it. You're passionate about One Piece, but come on. Touch a little grass. Get some ass. The Celestial Dragon goes on to say the winner of the tournament will have Shocky as their own. And we can see all the other Celestial Dragons oohing and ahhing, saying, she's so beautiful. Wow, I want her. And we actually see Saint Summers there. And he declares that when he wins, he will make Shocky his own personal property. And Garling, being the smug sociopath he is, saying, when I win, she's going to be my wife. So you better get real, Summers. We also see Gunko there. And the person with the hat from the Myanmar family, or however you pronounce it. And they go on to tell Gunko, with you here, we might actually be able to win the Clan War trophy. So moving on, we see Dragon continuing on into the island, and he comes across a woman who has a trail of blood behind her. And it seems like this is Shanks and Shamrock's mother, because she's begging Dragon, please help them. Take them away from this island. You cannot let him take them. And originally, when I first read the chapter, I was a little confused just due to the paneling. I originally thought that it was Blackbeard's mother speaking to Dragon, telling him to take my kids, but it seems like I misread that. So in that first panel, we see what's presumably Shanks and Shamrock's mom begging Dragon to help her. And then right below it, we see another panel of a woman saying, "Come here, Teach. You have to escape. It'll be okay." But you can actually see them in shackles and bars behind them. So I'm wondering if they're on the prisoner ship or if they're locked up somewhere on God Valley, the island itself. So it's really interesting to think that it was Dragon, the one who saves baby Shanks, because Shanks then goes on to be probably one of the most influential people in Luffy's life. The reason why Luffy has the straw hat, the reason why Luffy left out to become a pirate was mainly due to Shanks. So knowing that Dragon is the one who saved him from his fate on God Valley, it's starting to bring things full circle. And I just love how Oda is making all of this come together. Also, we know that Shanks was found in a treasure chest by the Roger Pirates. I'm wondering if God Valley is where Dragon got his devil fruit from. Because with this mother begging Dragon to ask him for help in saving his children, I'm assuming that Dragon, thought quick on his feet and put Shanks in the treasure chest. But to do so, he had to eat the devil fruit that was in there. And it makes me wonder, he was able to save Shanks like this, but why wasn't he able to save Shamrock? Like, did he put them in two separate chests and maybe the Roger Pirates got the chest that Shanks was in and Garling and the Celestial Dragons got the chest that Shamrock was in? It really makes me wonder how that all played out. But it seems like we may get answers soon. Hopefully. I'm praying to Goda. So, the Celestial Dragon on the stage, who's telling everybody else about the prizes, goes on to say that the tournament features several super rare rabbits to hunt, and that not only have they secured a child from the Buccaneer tribe, but that they have also uncovered, for the first time in 800 years, members of the Davy clan. This is a huge reveal. In last chapter, Garland goes on to say the Great One Emu is going to be really happy with what I found on God Valley. And at first, I thought maybe it was some super rare devil fruits or like an ancient weapon. But now we can see that it was the Davy clan members that Garland was talking about. And since the Celestial Dragon goes on to say members, I'm wondering how many of the Davy clan are left. Is it just Blackbeard and his mother? Or are there more out there that we don't know about? And again, Shanks' mother, could she be a part of the Davy clan, making Shanks a part of the Davy clan? I really hope Oda lets us know what's going on with the Davy clan members, because I want to learn as much about them as I can. But yeah, guys, Oda is on one. This chapter was a 10 out of 10, a phenomenal chapter. I can't tell you how many times I've read this chapter. I have lost count. It answers so many questions that One Piece fans have had over the years, but in the same breath, it's brought up so many new questions. It's added so much to One Piece's world building and storytelling, I can't even begin to explain. This manga has been going on for 28 years and Oda keeps on making banger chapters like these, back to back to back. I'm really glad we don't have a break next week because I feel like Oda's about to blow our minds. Reading this chapter, I can tell that this is probably where Scopper Gabon and Saint Summers met. It makes me wonder if this is where Whitebeard is going to get the scars that are on his chest that he brought up to Shanks, and he says, every time I see your face, I think of these scars. Like, was it Garling who gave him those scars? Are we going to get to see a clash there? Is Marco currently on God Valley? Could Whitebeard have gotten Marco's devil fruit from God Valley? What exactly are the 7 devil fruits in the treasure chest that we don't currently know about? Another question I have, we see that Garling and Summers both have aged during the Elbaf arc, but Gonko looks exactly the same. So what's going on there? Does she have some type of pact with Emu that makes her like young forever? Is the Davy clan the D that we've been pondering over for all these years in One Piece? Like, does the D in all of these great characters' names, like Monkey D, Luffy, Marshall D, Teach, does it stand for Davy? I don't personally think so, but it brings up the question. Will we ever get to see Davy D. Jones in the story? I hope so. To be honest, I hope we get to see Davy Jones in Joy Boy's flashback, because I do believe that Oda will have a flashback of Joy Boy and what happened 800 years ago in the Void Century. And I really hope we get to see Davy Jones and his exploits back then. I really love this chapter. Like, it's really starting to humanize Blackbeard. You know, being a Blackbeard glazer, a lot of people have given me shit over the years because it's like, oh, how could you like that snake? Oh, he's so cowardly, blah, blah, blah. But now knowing that Blackbeard, 1, is a part of the Davy clan, 2, was a slave for the Celestial Dragons as a child, I'm starting to understand why he grew up to be the way he is. If you were treated like that, if your mother and father were both taken out by the Celestial Dragons, I would do whatever I could too to, get my get back. I really hope it's Blackbeard the one who takes out Emu and not Luffy. Like, I would give anything to see Blackbeard sit on that empty throne after taking out Emu and avenging his father. Because remember, Rock said, I will be back. And maybe he didn't mean himself personally, but the Davy will be back. This chapter just brings up so many questions. I could sit on camera and talk for hours, and this video is already getting long enough as it is. I can't wait till the day that the Crownless Kingdom grows enough so I can have a live stream and be able to talk to you all about amazing chapters like this, because I just want to talk with people and get different perspectives on the story. And I feel like I could just go on and on about amazing chapters like this. So I can't wait till this community really starts to gain some traction and the kingdom starts to get built. But again, this chapter was a 10 out of 10. 5 out of 5, yes out of yes. If I could erase my memory and read it again, I absolutely would. Oda is cooking. I can't remember another time in One Piece where the chapters have been back-to-back bangers like this. Like, we are finally here. I've been waiting years to see the God Valley incident, and we are finally here, and there are no breaknecks week. I don't think the One Piece community is ready for the shit that Oda is about to drop on us. One Piece chapter 1160, I feel like it's gonna blow our minds. All right, but let me stop before this video gets too long. I'm trying to get this channel to 50 subs by the end of September. I'm at around 22, so we're almost halfway there. So give me a like and subscribe and help me in building this kingdom. One Piece isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and neither am I. So go ahead and comment down below any thoughts or theories or anything that I have missed in the chapter. I appreciate you all. I am Crownless D King. Stay safe, stay blessed, one love.